welcome to the Tao of Our Understanding Recovery Podcast. My name is Omar Pinto, the host of the Share Podcast and a founding member of the SRC, the Share Recovery Community. In the SRC, we have a number of live online recovery meetings every week on a number of different topics. This podcast is only one example of the content provided to our members. In this meeting, a chapter of the Tao Te Ching is discussed every week as to how it relates to recovery. I hope you enjoy this week's podcast episode.
Good morning, everyone. Buddy C, this is our January 10th, 2019 Tao Te Ching meeting. Welcome, Marla, Kate, and Craig. Glad y'all can make it today. Got some good stuff in this, the 27th chapter. Did anyone get a chance to do any study on this beforehand or have any comments before we start?
I did read. I read it, both Wayne Dwyer and the TTC as well. It's an easy one. It's living by your inner light. It's a great one. The more I read it, the more I realized that this is about making everyone your teacher. Everything in your life is your teacher. Yeah.
And that's what that inner light tells us, is that everything, every circumstance, every person, and when we start tagging things good and bad, we box them in and keep them from teaching us. Because we overvalue good things and accept things about how many times have you had something good in your life that you thought was good that you tagged that ended up being bad.
Yeah, several.
Yeah.
Several things.
A couple of them are named. Yeah, I could name a couple. A couple have last names, and then then how about things that you thought were bad that ended up being very good, but it was hard for you to see the good because you were not open-minded toward that.
I guess you could relate that to getting sober. It's like how we know it's so good for us to stay sober, but some people just can't.
Well, maybe we took it for granted. Maybe we took things for granted so much that we couldn't see the good in it.
Yeah, that's true too.
Okay. Kate, you want to start reading for us, dear?
Yes, I will.
All right.
I'll start with the first translation. A good walker leaves no tracks. A good speaker makes no slips. A good reckoner needs no tally. A good door needs no lock, yet no one can open it. Good binding requires no knots, yet no one can loosen it. Therefore the sage takes care of all men and abandons no one. He takes care of all things and abandons nothing. This is called following the light. What is a good man? A teacher of a bad man. What is a bad man? A good man's charge. If the teacher is not respected and the student not cared for, confusion will arise however clever one is. This is the crux of mystery. The second translation. A good traveler has no fixed plans and is not intent upon arriving. A good artist lets his intuition lead him wherever it wants. A good scientist has freed himself of concepts and keeps his mind open to what is. Thus, the master is available to all people and doesn't reject anyone. He is ready to use all situations and doesn't waste anything. This is called embodying the light. What is a good man but a bad man's teacher? What is a bad man but a good man's job? If you don't understand this, you will get lost, however intelligent you are. It is the great secret. Third translation. A good traveler leaves no tracks, and a skillful speaker is well rehearsed. A good bookkeeper has an excellent memory, and a well-made door is easy to open and needs no locks. A good knot needs no rope, and it cannot come undone. Thus the master is willing to help everyone and doesn't know the meaning of rejection. She is there to help all of creation and doesn't abandon even the smallest creature. This is called embracing the light. What is a good person but a bad person's teacher? What is a bad person but raw material for his teacher? If you fail to honor your teacher or fail to enjoy your student, you will become deluded no matter how smart you are. It is the secret of prime importance. The final translation. With enough practice, you could come and go without a trace. Speak without stumbling over words. Do complicated math problems in your head. You could build a door with no lock that nobody could open. You could tie something down with no knots, even without even a rope, and nobody could pry it loose. Masters have time to help everybody and ignore nobody. They use their resources wisely, wasting nothing. Some people call this following the light. Good people teach others because they have the potential to be good too. Brains count for nothing if you fail to respect your teachers or to honor the potential in others. That's one of the most important lessons of Tao.
Each paragraph has something different to say. And I'm interpreting the first part as having a really solid foundation of morals and ethics and values, and that nothing can change that. So you can move through the world with your own light. That's what I got out of the first chapter. The last chapter, I love. The last quote, I love the last part of it. My teachers have always said a good teacher is a really good student.
A good artist lets his intuition lead him. That's out of the second one, the Mitchell translation. A good artist lets his intuition lead him. That's that inner light, Marla, that you were talking about.
Mm-hmm.
Derek Lynn talks about, when we get to that, I think it's him that talks about this, that this traveler is talking about not physical traveling in his thinking. It's not talking about taking a trip. It's talking about within our lives when we don't leave tracks in other people's lives. That we learn how that not needing knots is building relationships with other people, and they value your opinion without you having to force it upon them. You know, they're friends with you willingly. They're not hostages. So letting your intuition not leaving no tracks, is talking about, I think talking about being open-minded, and later on it shows about valuing everyone. Everyone has value. And that concept of not good, not bad. And so much of our boxes, once we call something good or call something bad, I was thinking about this, how many underlying thoughts go with that? I mean, how this box that I automatically put that in, or that person. Let's say I have a friend that we have a mutual acquaintance. And I say, have you met such and such? Yeah, I didn't like them, blah, 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 whatever it is. And all of a sudden, I don't like them. I'm cautious of them, right? So I've got this box, and I'm not as open-minded with them as I should be. So I restrict myself from being taught by them. or taught by that circumstance.
Yes.
We've already made a judgment against them.
Yes.
Yeah.
It's really about living judgment-free is what this is about.
Right.
Yeah. The things I wrote down about it was I picked up on the good and bad as well, because we've spoken about good and bad before. So if we decide something's good, then we always have to have something that's going to be bad comparable to it. It talks about a good man and it talks about a bad man. Who are we to decide who's the good man and who's the bad man? I don't think it's up to us to decide that at all. And what I read into that as well is with people like doctors. They don't have the decision to who they see. They don't have the decision if you work in an emergency room who comes in the door. You don't get to say, I'm not treating him because he's a murderer or he dodges taxes. They go by the Hippocratic oath that they deal with everybody on a judgment-free basis, and they deal with everything as it comes. And once they've dealt with it, they just let it go to the next area, the next people that can deal with it. I like the reference to a good door needs no lock, and the other one was a well-made door. I quite like that. I looked into that as in my life should be a door that doesn't have a lock. People have access to me, or people have access to things that I know, but at the same time, I have access to other people as well. And I read into that sense of community, more particularly in things like the recovery. If we have something to ask each other in recovery, there are very little barriers in any of the groups that we're in. We can normally, if we're struggling with something, we can only just put a question out there in the SRC or in the individual groups that we're in, and we've got access to everybody else's doors. Everybody will always come up with a different answer to what we're looking for, but nobody should be, or very, very few people actually say this is your problem, this is what you should be doing. We've always got access to a wealth of knowledge, and we never expect anything in return for people using that, which is I think is a great thing about the SRC and the groups that we're in. I read quite a bit of diligence into this as well, not leaving something half done, seeing things through to closure. And also like the leaving no trace as well. It's like not muddying the waters any more than what they already are. We don't leave things any more muddled or any more confused than what they are already.
We don't need them any more confusing, that's for sure. Honor the potential in others.
I would agree with that diligence, because it says, it's saying don't judge, but it isn't just saying that. It's saying what is a bad man's man, but what is a bad man but a good man's job. It's not just saying, not to judge people, but it's like it's our job to work with the bad man.
Doesn't it, Kate? It takes effort.
Right. It's not just don't judge the bad man, but we have to work with the bad man.
Yeah, you're right.
Or the character.
It's a good man's job to work with the bad man.
Think about character defects. What if you thought of a character defect as the bad job?
Oh.
Ooh.
See, that's what I'm saying is breaking this down to the individual. Every circumstance, every emotion, every fear, they're all like jobs. They're all these things, that our teachers. Each one individually is our teacher.
Yeah.
So,
Right.
so how many times have I, back to people again though, I would tolerate behavior out of someone I liked that I would not tolerate out of someone I did not like. So me putting these good and bad tags on people box me into other boxes too.
Yeah, I'm not going to say what I was going to say.
Marla's brain's exploding. But I think that's what the warning's about, is that however intelligent you are, that you're going to get lost if you don't understand this.
You know how many lost people are walking around out there?
Here's one sitting here. And the thing is, we can be lost in aspects of our life too.
Yes.
We let fear dominate us. We're lost in that area of our life.
And that's a wrap. Well done. That's.
But I was just thinking about it, and I thought, gosh, this is so applicable. I mean, from just reading it, I was like, I don't know what we're going to get out of this, but praying and meditating on it. And then the commentaries are real good on this. Derek Lynn has some really good stuff. I started realizing, I said, everything is my teacher. Every fear, every emotion, every joy, every happiness, everything is my teacher.
There's quite a bit adapting to things in that as well.
Acceptance. Acceptance, correct.
Yeah. Like what? What do you mean?
Well, if I've got a new intake of students for the Taekwondo, there's a lot of times I've worked with a lot of my students for the past 3 or 4 years. If I got other people coming in, I know that I can say something, and my older students, they'll be able to pick up on what I'm talking about, but the newer students don't. So I have to adapt, or I have to accept the fact that I need to, not the way that I'm teaching is wrong, but I need to change the way that I teach so other people can understand it. What I'm doing isn't necessarily wrong, but somebody might not understand what I'm doing. So I need to be able to adapt to their way of doing things to explain what I'm talking about to get to the exact same point that I started off, which was what? Acceptance. Acceptance is a big thing. I don't even know what to talk about that.
The master is willing to help everyone and doesn't know the meaning of rejection.
Mm-hmm.
So she is there to help all of creation and doesn't abandon even the smallest creature. This is called embracing the light. So if we're talking about ourselves, let's say, and we're talking about character defects, fear. Let's say I have a fear of financial insecurity. Okay. I have to work with that fear, and I have to be diligent and not and continue the effort to let go of that fear. Even the smallest of fears, even the smallest of defects, even the smallest of things that cause me angst. I can't know what rejection is, meaning that I don't experience it because I don't allow it. That's acceptance, and the same with other people too. If you put it, come out to the 30,000 foot view, and you start looking at people and different things, But everything is my teacher today. Every breath, what's in front of me is my teacher.
Mm-hmm.
Whatever that is.
Life can be very amazing if you approach it like that all the time.
With no rejection.
Yeah.
At the same time, everything is my student. In the same moment. I mean, think how often 3 or 4 of us have children. So think how often you've behaved a particular way because you were teaching your kids something, or you were concerned that they were, What if we approached everyone with that same concern, looking out for their well-being in the same way? How we would behave different and look at people as someone for us to teach something to.
Yeah.
Because I'm selfish, and a lot of times I'll just look over people and do different things and not be as concerned as I should be.
But that's very human.
Oh, it's human.
It's
what it's saying is when we do that, we're lost.
yeah.
It's warning us that there's a better way.
It does work like that, doesn't it?
Yeah. We can, we've got reasons and excuses, but doesn't mean we're not lost. We're still lost.
I talk about not teaching yoga, but practicing yoga, but I am a yoga teacher too. And I was really never able to step into my role as a teacher of yoga because it's such a big thing that little old me, how can little old me impart such wisdom? Mm-hmm. It felt like a big task, and therefore I didn't step into my role as a teacher as well as I should have.
Well, it's good that you're seeing that, though, Marla, because that's growth, and now you can start addressing that.
Yeah, definitely.
Melissa, happy to have you. We're on the 27th chapter of the Tao Te Ching. I put a link to that in the chat. So if you want to take a look at the chat, it's there. You just wrote it over here. But you can open it there, and we're talking about that now. So if you've got any comments or questions, just chime in. Y'all ready to go to the commentaries?
Sure.
Okay, anyone have Mitchell? I'll do Mitchell if no one has it.
No, go ahead. I have it on my Kindle, which I don't have with me.
He says it's one of the most important chapters in the Tao Te Ching. First stanza, he's been very free with his translation. He did the second translation that we read. Openness to reality and open-heartedness needs to be made as clearly as possible. The original text reads, a good walker leaves no traces or tracks. A good speaker makes no slips or errors. A good calculator needs no counting sticks or tallies. A good locksmith uses no bolts or keys, yet no one can open. A good binder uses no ropes or cords, yet no one can loosen. All available people, which is his translation on down, says, is because he is not attached to his own ideas. So where he says, thus the master is available to all people and doesn't reject anyone, is because the master is not attached to his own ideas. While even the master is open-minded. Wow. That's why he's the master.
Because he's open-minded.
Because he's open-minded, exactly. You will get lost. I mean, at the end where he says that if you don't understand this, you will get lost. He says means lost in moral judgments. So you start judging things, and that's what causes you to get lost. Then he makes the statement, the tree of the knowledge of good and evil is the tree of death.
Explain.
Just that in judging, in thinking that that's the path to death.
All right.
Not being open-minded, thinking you've got it figured out.
The tree of good and evil, I didn't understand.
Yeah, well, I think that's a reference to the Garden of Eden and Adam and Eve and all that stuff.
Yeah.
The tree of the knowledge of good and evil, he says, is the tree of death. In other words, getting knowledge is death. Not being open, being closed-minded, thinking you have it figured out.
Yeah.
All of that is what I think that he meant by that.
Yeah, okay.
But that's getting lost in moral judgments. Go ahead, Chris.
That was in the Bible.
Yeah.
When God said to Adam, if you eat off the tree of knowledge, then you'll die.
That's true, yeah.
Really?
Yeah, Genesis. Yeah,
that's it. Yeah, exactly.
And then when Eve popped along, the snake told her to eat an apple from the tree of knowledge. I don't think he fully explained the consequences to her.
No more Bible from you today, Craig. That's a plenty of Bible, okay?
I never read the Bible.
You've never. It's a great book. Great book. You should read it.
I heard it's #1 bestseller.
Allegedly, yeah.
Behind the Tao Te Ching, actually.
It's behind?
No, the Tao Te Ching's behind it. It's
That's
number
what I
one.
thought.
And then the Tao Te Ching's second.
Second.
Yeah,
Amazing how few people know about it.
I know. All right, Craig, you have the Derek Lynn.
Yep, Derek Lynn. So his translation of it is: good travelling does not leave tracks. Good speech does not seek faults. Good reckoning does not use counters. Good closure needs no bar, yet cannot be opened. Good knot needs no rope, and yet cannot be untied. Therefore, sages often save others, and so do not abandon anyone. That's where I got the idea of the doctor. Mm-hmm. They don't really have the option, but at the same time, that's why they're there. So that came into the job part. That's how I got to the part from the job. They often save things, and so do not abandon anything. This is called following enlightenment. Therefore, the good person is the teacher of the bad person. The bad person is the resource of the good person. Those who do not value their teachers and do not love their resources, although intelligent, they are greatly confused. This is called the essential wonder. So what he goes on to explain with those is skilled travellers in the journey of life follow the path of nature. They do not force their way through obstacles or trample over fellow travellers. They leave no signs of their passing. If we are similarly skillful in personal interactions, we would also follow the path of nature and not use words to find fault in others. To do so would to leave unskilled skid marks all over emotional landscape. In ancient China, where he's talking about the doors, talking about the doors not needing locks and a well-made door. In China, the doors were locked from the inside with a wooden bar set horizontally. That's across the way. Thus, this line is talking about how we can capture people's attention so they naturally gravitate to us as if they are locked in, but without the wooden bar. The key is to connect with them at deep level and form bonds that are stronger than any knots tied with ropes. I think places like the share recovery community is a great example of that. I don't know about anybody else that's in the group, but I've formed relationships with quite a lot of people in the group, and it's all just been through trust and being open to each other. The sages do not give up on anyone. Everyone plays a role and everyone has an impact. Good individuals can serve as teachers and examples for us. Not so good individuals are just as useful because we can observe the consequences of the negative actions and learn what not to do. So I can actually relate to this because I'm a middle child.
Me too.
Yeah, okay, right. So what usually happened in my house was my brother, he's 18 months older than me, so he would usually do quite well. I would think, do you know what, I could do it another way. There's another way of doing things. So I would do things the complete opposite to him. I would get into trouble. And my sister, who's the youngest one, she would watch who get into most trouble, and she would usually follow my older brother. My sister's very enlightened. I also made a note on that because they were talking about the good and bad, and the note that they made on that was, who are we to decide who's good and bad, and also on the part where it says enlightenment, there was a saying, a wise man asks those who have travelled before, and the fool goes his own way, rather than seeking advice from those around them. I think that could be related to trampling through life, just bumbling your way through things and stumbling and falling over everything put in your path, rather than being open-minded and communicate with people. The last part of his translation was, most of us do not value everyone equally. We develop likes and dislikes, preferences and aversions. We shower some with attention while ignoring others. We favour certain individuals while finding others barely tolerable. Most of us pay lip service to the contempt of universal love, but few of us have actually practiced this. Lao Tzu would definitely see us as greatly confused. So if you've formulated an opinion of somebody, we briefly spoke about this, it puts that prejudice towards them already. How do you get rid of that prejudice? How do you get rid of that bad thought of them out of your head?
Are you asking?
Yeah, I'm asking because I can. No, I think if I knew, I'd be telling you.
You got to change your thought.
I can get an email or a text or a phone call from one person, and the minute that I look at it, I think to myself, "Oh, this is just going to be trouble. This is just going to, everything that every interaction I have with this person, it just leads to destruction." And then you could answer the phone, and you find out that he's actually done something for you.
So are we supposed to be trying to like everybody, or are we supposed to just be finding value in the people that we don't like?
I like the second one, Kate. Finding value in people we don't like and figure out why we don't like them.
Learning to accept them as they
where
are.
I'm wrong. Maybe I'm just seeing the bad and the bad, the previous experiences with some people, rather than what I can learn from them.
Maybe our approach, Kate, should be learning to accept them as they are, not putting them in any box, which is a little different, leaving judge. Have you ever met someone you said, I don't really like that, but I'm gonna wait to pass judgment?
It's hard to take the judgment out of it.
Yeah, but
that's a hard concept.
It is. But if you're learning not to pass judgment, and say, I'll wait. If you just say, I'll wait, and kind of just say, I'm gonna see how this develops. I'm gonna see what, and I've had people in my life that my first impression was bad, but they ended up being really good people.
That's true.
You know what I mean? I'm using those, but you know what I mean. It's so yeah. I think we just have to learn to be open-minded and learn to wait and not be so quick to judge. Not so quick now. With you, Craig, in your situation, my first question would be, why does this is there something under that, more than a text or is that a person that you have some kind of a anger or resentment with to begin with, if it's someone you interact with on a regular basis and getting down? Yeah. So.
And then you're aware of it.
Yes. So this guy's your teacher right now. And then that whatever's under that is your teacher. And if you're open-minded enough to see that, then you're able to learn. And how many times have those guards gone up and said, no, I have this figured out. And my control comes in instead. And I lock down. And then I am this person of however intelligence, I am lost.
Yeah, it's fear.
The result of loss is angst and disturbed and all that bad stuff, that we learn that's not in our best interest, really,
So are we trying not to think of people as good or bad at all? Like, we can't be like, oh, he's a good person.
I think it starts with just being open, Kate, that if somebody's, I think we have to pass some kind of value judgment as to whether, some people I'm not going to accept their counsel, immediately, and other people, I think that we just have to be open-minded, though, with everyone, that there's something to learn from them and that there's something that they can learn from us. And not be so quick to put ourselves up here or to be subservient either. Maybe that's the idea. That's kind of the way I'm thinking about it, because we have people that we're around, that a lot that we have to make some kind of a judgment call on. I mean, I can't, open my house up to a thief, I can't, I've got to, judge people in that regard, but yet stay open-minded. So I think it's tough. It's tough to know where that balance is.
But it's a balance.
It is. And anytime we block someone out or a thought, or we say we've got this figured out, oh, that's okay, I got this, we are lost. That's what this is saying. That's what I'm thinking it's saying, I'm sure when we come back around to this one again in, it's going to be over a year because, there's 81 of these, probably a year and a half or so. I'm sure our thinking on this will be a little different. It'll be interesting when we start going through these again, the one we did before, and see how much different what we're getting out of it is, because it's all relative to our place where we are spiritually, I think.
I quite like that what he says about being lost. How many times do we hear people leaving the group saying, I've got this, I'm in control of my addiction, I'm in control of my drinking, I can moderate this, I can moderate that. And how many times do you know for a fact that within however long a period they're just going to be back to square one, because they are lost in the recovery. They may not have the foundations or the program, or they may have it, but they may not be working to stay not in control, but to stay up to speed with what they need to be doing. I could see that as a form of being lost as well.
Skilled travelers in the journey of life follow the path of nature. Maybe this is about, Kate, in our relationships, following the path of nature in our relationship. They do not force their way through obstacles or trample over fellow travelers. They leave no signs of their passing. If we are similarly skillful in personal interactions, we would also follow the path of nature and not use words to find fault in others. That's what Derek Lynn talks about this. So I'm thinking that would be our approach to people. Not trample them, try not to find fault. I mean, how many times have I passed judgment on someone when it was none of my business? Their life was none of my business, and I just got in there and made it my business.
If you become aware, you'll do that several times a day, several hundred times a day, I think.
And so, I mean, how many times do I pass people and just by their appearance pass judgment?
Exactly. We don't even know we're doing it anymore. We're so conditioned, but at least we can start with ourselves and our friends.
Mm-hmm. Following that path of nature. It's back to the same thing again,
Yeah.
What does it say? Open ourselves up to the Tao. Trust our natural responses, and everything will fall into place. So that's what this is talking about. And this is a good time to mention, too, we talked before the meeting, and we're going to do a topic meeting next week. Marla is looking for work, and we were talking about how to do that within the Tao. Stay right-sized, effortless effort. What is our part, really? How much do we trust our higher power, and what is our part in that kind of a process? So we're going to all dig in to Tao quotes and the Tao Te Ching this week and see what we come up with to discuss next week. So we're all going to bring our quotes and things that we find and discuss this and see if we can put an applicable picture together of how to apply this in a real life situation. How do I stay right sides with the Tao and do everything I need to for a new job or to find employment or whatever we're talking about.
Mm-hmm. I think it's a great idea.
I think it is too. And it's the effortless effort, all of that, what is our part? How do we do that? So we're going to talk about that next week. Remind me and I'll mention it at the end again. I meant to mention it at the beginning and forgot. Yeah, that's good. Are y'all ready for Dyer, or do we have?
let's do Dyer. And
Yeah, let's do Dyer.
let's do Dyer. 27th verse. Living by your inner light. For just a moment, imagine your most valuable possessions, including a large cachet of money, on a table in your bedroom, in full view of anyone who might come in. Now further imagine that your pile of precious jewelry, cash, and important documents is completely safe. There's no need for insurance, and no one could ever possibly steal your treasure. Is this state of complete trust possible? I think so, especially since it's encouraged in this 27th verse of the Tao Te Ching. The door, though having no lock, cannot be opened. The knower of the truth lives by an inner light. The illumination shines on the fact that stealing isn't the way of truth. So it's unnecessary to lock anything up. Possessions are safe among those who live by an inner light, which reflects the perfection of the Tao. It's the source you're encouraged to always carry with you and to consult when you feel the need for assistance or direction. Lao Tzu advises you to give without keeping an account or expecting something in return, for this is the nature of the Tao, and you are of the Tao. Giving is synonymous with receiving when you live by this illumination. Trust the inner light to guide you, for it is your heritage. Your origin is more from the Tao than from parents, culture, or country. The second paragraph, the knower of the truth lives by the inner light. The illumination shines on the fact that stealing isn't the way of truth. What? Stealing. So how is he relating that to our thoughts, the philosophy, rather than the physicality of jewelry and cash?
Yeah, he's not talking about physical, and if you think about it, I don't think he's talking about physical giving either.
No.
He's talking about giving of ourselves. So, his verse says that be wise and help all beings impartially, abandoning none. Waste no opportunities. This is called following the light. So if we've got that person that rubs us the wrong way, maybe the first question to ask is, what can I do for this person? How can I be kind to this person? I send love to this person. That's what I do. I try to do. I send love to you. I'll mentally say that. I won't say it out loud, of course, but I'll mentally look at that person. I'll send love to you. I don't like you, but I send love to you.
You have to put that in there, don't you?
I do, yeah. But that's what I'm thinking. I'm thinking that at that initial, especially, and with time I can drop that I don't like part, but it has to start with me getting some kindness out there and not abandoning that person. Because how many people in my life have I abandoned just from first glimpse? Happens all the time.
Mm-hmm.
All the time. I think that's what it's talking about, Kate, as far as the judging part, and how do I do this? It's about not abandoning them, and in not abandoning, we don't waste opportunities. And that's following the light. That we help all beings impartially. Maybe we need to pray for God to make us aware of the people and situations that we've abandoned, and that we be more aware and intuitive. This inner light you were talking about, Marla, from the beginning, to see that, because that is what keeps us from being lost. It's that mirror effect again, that when we're giving, it's given back to us. So it's not important. I think it's most important that that we're a giving person, that we're always giving out of ourselves. Much more important than, if there's some money you need to give, that's a small part of giving. When you think about giving, the first thing that I always went to was money,
Yeah.
But that's a small part of giving. That's a small percentage of what giving is about. Giving is about living a giving life. And that's what this is speaking to, that we don't waste opportunities to give. And that starts with an attitude of giving, which for me starts with an attitude of gratitude. It starts with me being grateful. Because if I'm grateful for what I have, then I'm more apt to be able to share with other people and be kind to them if I'm being kind to myself. Anything else in the Dyer commentary that spoke to y'all? I had a couple of things. When you trust this wisdom that created you, you're trusting yourself. That's out of Trust Yourself section. Don't judge yourself or others. I am my own student and leave this opportunity to learn that I'm instructing rather than judging. I will now cease critiquing myself or any other and teach by being the Tao. And the way he teaches and instructs is by being. By sharing love, by being kind. What is it? Another quote somewhere in the Tao Te Ching about compassion is your greatest defense.
Can I add in this Sufi pose?
Sure.
Sufi poem?
Yeah.
At the bottom of this chapter, it goes like this. At some point, your relationship with God will become like this. Next time you meet him in the forest or on a crowded city street, there won't be any more leaving. That is, God will climb into your pocket. You will simply just take yourself along.
Mm-hmm.
The Tao, living with the Tao.
No longer be lost.
Right. That's all there is.
Yeah.
So simple.
What do they say? It's like digging the ditch. It's simple but not easy.
So whatever.
All right. What's our wrap up here? Living free of judgment.
Cheers to that.
Giving a quality of presence. Not able to make distinction between good and evil, judgment free. Let's see what else I had.
Make someone happy today.
We can learn much from those we ignore.
But I'm ignoring them. How can I learn from them?
You're lost, Marla. Invite God along again. Get your pocket, let him in. Come on. All is our teacher, including every circumstance in life. Every circumstance, every person, every interaction, every emotion, every fear, every joy, everything is both your teacher and your student. Everything. Anything else, guys? Did that indicate? I know we were about how to deal with people in general. Did that kind of give you something?
No, this was good. I think I understand it pretty well.
Okay. Because, you had the most valid question of the day was, okay, so what do I do?
Yeah.
How do,
How do we
I like everybody? That's, if I'm just going to try with people not to pass judgment so quickly.
Right.
To keep an open mind and know that every person, every interaction, everything is a way that I can give. It either helps me or it helps them. either way, I am helped.
I like
My
that
life is
you're
better.
not leaving anybody out of that.
Yes. Not as being impartial,
Yeah.
and learning to smile at people that used to I would ignore.
Hmm.
That's a place for me to start.
Yeah.
When I go to Walmart, smiling instead of frowning, So, that's the kind of changes I think this is talking about. It's the subtle things, and that keeps us from being lost, and that helps us, maybe the percentage of our life that we're lost starts going down,
Mm-hmm.
Boy, that sounds so nice.
That I could make.
I'm sorry?
I could see some changes that I could make right now with people.
I do too. Yeah.
Definitely.
Yeah. Okay. Good. That's some good stuff today. And I see why Mitchell said it was one of the most important chapters.
Yeah.
There's a lot there. Good. Okay. Well, next week, guys, go through and bring all of your anything to do with effort or work or job or employment, and let's just try to focus on that and see what we find. Not only Tao Te Ching, but also any other Tao-related writing, that we can find quotes that would work and apply. And let's dig through that next week and see what we can find.
I like it.
I would like to give a shout out to Charlie Lavore with the Way Out podcast. He sent me a mug. If you're looking for a good 12-step or good recovery podcast that applies the principles of AA, the Way Out podcast would be good to check out. They do a good job. They're up in Minnesota.
That's a good one. It's all right.
Yeah.
I love Omar. I love the way he interviews and who he interviews. I don't know.
It's good stuff, and I get different things from all of them because they all have their own flavor. If you're looking for other podcasts too, if you go to dailyaaemails.com, there's a service there, but underneath at the bottom of that is a whole list of podcasts. So some of those may be good to check out. It's dailyaaemails.com. They provide a daily injection into email. That's going to become a podcast in February. But doing the daily with that, yeah, that's good stuff. I think that's all. Anything else we need to discuss, or are we done? Done? Okay. Well, y'all have a great week, and we'll see you next week.
Thanks, buddy.
Thanks.
Yeah.
Thank you for listening to the Tao of Our Understanding Recovery Podcast. For more information about the SRC, go to thesharepodcast.com. Share is spelled SHAIR, and look for the Share Recovery Community link. When you join the SRC, you will be able to participate in this meeting and many more live, plus access to a video library of past meetings and many more benefits for being a part of this growing community. Thanks again for listening, and if you enjoyed this episode, please share this podcast with your friends in recovery.